Hey all, it's Toby. I thought I would give you a little bit of backstory. Um, I started figuring stuff out in terms of my own gender issues in like 11th grade. Um, I had I had a classmate who told me to read this book. I can't remember what it was called, but essentially it was about this woman who had gone undercover as a man to figure out what men were really like. She was like, "Oh, it's a great book. You should definitely read it." And so I read it, and it was interesting. It was really interesting. It also was the first time I had ever heard of the term or the idea of being transgender. Uh, I mean, the lady who did this wasn't, who wrote the book and who went undercover wasn't actually transgendered, but she made a point of saying, look, I'm not actually transgendered, I'm just a lesbian. Uh, uh, but yeah, so that was the first time I'd heard the term, and immediately my first thought was, I wonder if that's what I am. Which was kind of bizarre. Uh, I had never thought about it before, and I told myself, well, you've never thought about that before, why would you possibly be that way? So it took me kind of a while to sort it out. I went through a while of, like, periods of denial, I guess. Like, other times I would be like, yes, this is part of me. And then in my own brain, I sort of created these kind of fractured different selves. Like one was male, one was female, one was really young, and then I decided, well, but they're all me, and so there has to be another one which kind of holds everything together. But that gets into multiple personalities, which I don't have. I really don't, and gets more complicated, so let's not deal with that. But anyway, that was part of what I went through, was kind of sometimes convincing myself this is really a separate part of myself when it wasn't, when it was just all me all along. But yeah, senior year was tough. By senior year, I knew I was I didn't know, but I really didn't think I was a girl. And I was like, oh god, I have to figure this out. How do I figure this out? I have to figure it out. I felt kind of desperate. I also felt really trapped. I went to a school where the uniform required me to wear a skirt. Well, it didn't actually require me to do so, but I had been wearing a skirt for a couple of years because the pants were uncomfortable. They were just not comfortable. And I decided by 11th grade, senior year, if I just suddenly changed and started wearing pants all the time, that would be kind of strange. And I really prefer to fly under the radar. I don't like being very obviously noticed. So I didn't want to deal with that. So yeah, by the end of senior year, I felt really trapped. But I was going off to camp for 3 weeks. Very isolated. There were just, like, 10 students and 3 teachers, counselors, whatever you want to call them. It was a program for college, really. And we were just going to be off by ourselves in the wilderness for 3 weeks. So I said, I will figure it out then. I will go there, introduce myself as the name I had picked out. And I will be a boy, and I will figure out if that's what I actually am or not through that. There were a lot of flaws in that plan. I really don't suggest it to anybody else. I mean, it was somewhat helpful for me, but I really don't suggest it. I mean, first of all, even if you go and you say, if you go and introduce yourself with a male name, whether you pass or not, if you haven't told them in advance that's the name you're going by, you still have your female name. And it also still says female on all of your records. Or male, depending on which side you're coming from. And so they're going to treat you as such, and just, like, using female pronouns, and yeah. So there was that issue that just, I mean, they don't see you as the gender you perceive yourself to be, or are trying to perceive yourself to be, and so you can't really do so either. Then there's also the problem of, well, this is actually a later problem. the problem of not having told your parents beforehand. I mean, I didn't want to tell my parents while I was there because I kind of knew I didn't think anything really bad would happen, but I kind of felt like something bad could happen, so I really wanted to be out of the house if they were really not comfortable with me being whatever form of gender deviant I was. And so I went on the program. Throughout the course of the program, I decided that I was a boy sometimes and a girl some other times. And so I came back, and I told my parents this, like, the day after I came back, because my dad was all gung-ho. He's like, you're gonna figure out great things about yourself, and you should come back and tell us what they are. And when I got back, he was like, so what did you learn about yourself? And I was like, I'll tell you guys later. So finally, the second day, I told them, and that was terrifying. They were both really quiet for a couple of minutes, my mom for longer. My dad was pretty quick to say, don't worry, we'll always love you, stuff like that, and that was good. But my mom was really quiet for a long time. She was just in rather complete shock. Their roles are kind of reversed at the moment, but that's neither here nor there. Telling your parents immediately after you come back, that apparently is like, well, they're going to miss you anyway because you're off at college. And then as soon as they expect to see who they expect to see again, you tell them you're not that person. And they feel like their child went off and never came back, is what both my parents have told me it's like. It's been almost a year since then. No, it's been almost 2 years since then, sorry. And my mom at least is getting over it, I think. My dad is still working on it. But either way, that's a really bad way to come out to your parents. Don't do it. But I know I kind of walked around school. I still introduced myself by the name I'd picked. This isn't actually my name, but I would say, like, hi, I'm Toby. Except I would use the name I had actually picked. And when people used female pronouns, it took me a long time to get kind of used to saying it. But I would just say, I'm not a girl, please stop calling me she. And sometimes that worked, sometimes it didn't. And my friends, I hadn't said anything to them about it. There were the friends I made on the program, and then there were the other friends I made here. And the friends I made just here, I hadn't told them anything about it. But somehow they knew, I think. Apparently they had discussions about, like, which pronouns to use and stuff, or something like that. I'm not entirely sure what all went on. I have never actually asked. I just know that conversations were had, and great pronoun trouble was had. But they were all really pretty great about it. So yeah, pretty much everybody here now uses male pronouns. There's some of the staff who don't, and I'm not entirely comfortable telling them to use them. Partly because I still don't know exactly what I am. Am I male, or am I somewhere in the middle, or am I neither? I'm not entirely sure yet. I feel fairly certain now that I'm not a girl, but I mean, beyond that, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't know.